Ladies, when a man truly falls in love, it's not because of a perfectly styled photo, a flirty smile, or a few clever words. It's deeper than that. It happens when something about a woman touches a part of him that no one else ever reached. You see, every man has a side he doesn't show the world. He walks around wearing armor. He acts strong, composed, sometimes even cold. But underneath that tough exterior is a heart full of hopes, fears, and dreams. The moment you reach that space, that hidden part of him, that's when he begins to fall. Not just casually, not temporarily, but deeply, and often, for a man's soul doesn't get touched by surface-level attraction. That might catch his eye, but it won't keep his heart. What truly grabs a man's soul is how you make him feel in the quiet moments, the unseen ones, the times when no one is watching, when you listen, not just to his words, but to the pauses between them. When you notice his silence and ask him what's wrong, not because you're nosy, but because you genuinely care. When you respect his need for space, but let him know you'll be there when he returns. That kind of emotional depth is rare, and when he finds it, he knows it's something he can't risk losing. It touches a man's soul when he realizes you're not trying to fix him. A lot of men go through life guarded because they're used to being judged for their flaws. But when he finds a woman who embraces the parts of him that feel broken, who doesn't flinch at his imperfections, but instead gently encourages him to be better without shaming who he already is, that does something to him. That's not just love, that's healing, that's safety. And every man, no matter how strong he looks on the outside, is silently searching for a love that feels like safety. Another way to touch a man's soul is to believe in his vision. You might think it's not a big deal, but to him it's everything. When a man feels like he has a partner who sees where he's going, even when he hasn't gotten there yet, that inspires him. When he speaks of his dreams and you don't laugh, you don't doubt, but instead say, "I believe in you." That touches something inside of him no one else can reach. It doesn't matter if he's still figuring it out. It doesn't matter if he's failed before. What matters is that you believe he can. That belief becomes fuel. It becomes his motivation. It becomes the reason he keeps fighting when life gets hard. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be real. Authenticity touches a man's soul more than perfection ever could. When he sees that you're not pretending, that you're not putting on a show, that you're not trying to impress, but instead you're being honest about your own fears, your own scars, your own growth, he starts to open up too. He starts to let go of the mask. He realizes he can be himself with you, and in that moment he begins to fall. Because now he's not just attracted to you, he's connected to you. An emotional connection is the deepest kind of love a man can feel. It's in the way you respond to his vulnerability. If he opens up and tells you something personal, something that took courage to admit, and you meet that moment with understanding and compassion, you become unforgettable. That's a moment he'll never forget. Because so many men are taught to hide emotion, to be stoic, to not cry, to not admit weakness. So when you make space for his softness, when you honor his truth without using it against him later, that builds trust. That earns you a place in his heart that no one else can claim. Even in your silence, you can touch his soul. It's in the way you hug him when he's quiet, the way you let him rest his head on your chest and just breathe. No words, just presence, just love. He might not say it out loud, but those are the moments he's falling for you the hardest. Because in those small, sacred spaces, he feels seen. He feels understood. He feels home. Touching a man's soul isn't about control. It's not about playing games or using strategies to win him over. It's about showing up with sincerity. It's about being the kind of woman who sees beneath the surface. The kind who listens when he doesn't know how to talk. the kind who chooses him even when he's not at his best. That kind of woman doesn't just get a man's attention, she gets his devotion. God, it happens slowly, sometimes quietly, but undeniably. He starts thinking about you during the day, even when he's busy. He starts wanting to share his wins and losses with you first. He starts feeling like life just makes more sense when you're around. He didn't chase him. You didn't beg for his love. You just showed him who you are. Honest, kind, grounded, and present. And that was enough, more than enough. That was everything. Because when you touch a man's soul, you don't have to beg for his time. You don't have to fight for his loyalty. You don't have to wonder where you stand. He'll make sure you know. He'll start protecting the relationship. He'll start prioritizing your happiness. He'll start building a future with you in it. Why? Because real love, soul, deep love changes a man. It makes him want to grow. It makes him want to lead. It makes him want to cherish the one who loved him in a way the world never did. That's how deep it goes. That's how powerful it is. That's the kind of love that doesn't fade, the kind that doesn't break under pressure, the kind that a man carries with him forever. Because once you touch his soul, no other woman compares. No other feeling matches. You become the one he thanks God for. You become the reason he believes in love again. When a man falls deeply in love, it's rarely because of the things people assume matter most. It's not always your looks, your voice, or even your accomplishments that reach him on that deep level. What really gets to a man, what shakes him from the inside and makes him feel something lasting, is when a woman reaches into his soul without even trying. It's when she makes him feel understood in a way he's never felt before. That kind of love doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It whispers to him, stays patient, and becomes a presence he can't ignore. When a man experiences that, it changes everything. There's something powerful about emotional connection that most people don't talk about enough. A man may go through years of relationships, flings, distractions, until he meets someone who doesn't just listen to his words, but hears his heart. A woman who looks him in the eye and sees beyond his achievements, beyond his image, beyond the mask he shows the world. When he realizes that someone truly sees him, not the version of him he performs, but the real him, it cracks something open in his heart. He starts asking himself questions he never asked before. Is this what it feels like to be seen? Is this what real connection feels like? And once that door is opened, there's no going back. You don't have to be loud to be powerful in a man's life. In fact, it's usually the quiet strength that moves him most. When he's tired, mentally or emotionally worn down, and you don't push him, don't pressure him, but instead just show up in the calmest way with presence and peace that speaks volume. Maybe it's sitting next to him without saying anything. Maybe it's a gentle hand on his shoulder. Maybe it's just your energy that reminds him he doesn't always have to be strong around you, that he can breathe, that he doesn't have to carry the whole world when he's with you. That kind of peace is rare, and when he finds it, it stays with him. There's also something that happens to a man when he feels emotionally safe. So many men walk through life on defense. They're expected to be providers, protectors, problem solvers, but rarely does anyone ask how they feel, what they fear, or what they carry silently. When a woman gives him space to share those deeper parts of himself without judgment, without turning it against them later, she becomes the one person he trusts, not just with secrets, but with his soul. When that trust is built, love follows naturally, because to a man, emotional safety equals loyalty. When he feels that kind of bond, he no longer looks around, he locks in. He commits not because he has to, but because he wants to. What's even more powerful is when you, as a woman, show him your own vulnerability. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you real. When you share your fears, your past, your struggles, not for sympathy, but to let him know he's not alone. That changes how he sees you. You're not just beautiful to him anymore. You become magnetic. You become someone who understands life, who understands pain, who understands healing. And a man doesn't fall for someone who just makes him feel good for a moment. He falls for the one who helps him grow, who inspires him to open up, who reminds him that strength doesn't mean hiding everything. One of the things that truly touches a man's soul is when he feels like he matters in your life, not for what he does for you, but for who he is to you. Complimenting his heart, appreciating his effort, noticing the small things he tries to do to make your life easier. Those moments hit him in places he doesn't even admit exist. Men don't need to be praised all the time, but when you do it sincerely, when you remind him that his love is enough, that he's doing a good job, even if he doubts it, that fills him up in a way nothing else can. A woman who touches a man's soul also knows how to challenge him with love. She doesn't tolerate disrespect, but she doesn't humiliate him either. She holds him accountable in a way that pushes him to be better without making him feel small. That balance is powerful because a man will grow for a woman who challenges him out of love, not out of ego. He'll start looking at his habits, his choices, even his mindset, and begin changing not because she told him to, but because being with her makes him want to be the best version of himself. Time doesn't determine soul. Deep love. You could know someone for years and never feel seen, or you could meet someone and within weeks they touch you in ways no one ever has. That's how it is for a man when his soul is touched by the right woman. He begins to shift. He starts thinking about her when he wakes up, before he sleeps, and even when he's at his busiest. She's on his mind not just because he's infatuated, but because he feels safe and understood when he's around her. He starts planning his life with her in it, not because he's pressured, but because he wants to share his wins, his dreams, and even his struggles with her. Some women try to win a man over by changing themselves, but the truth is the one who touches a man's soul doesn't try to become what he wants. She simply shows him who she really is. Her presence, her loyalty, her consistency, and her truth is what captures him. She isn't chasing him. She isn't proving anything. She just lives with purpose, with love, and with heart. And that authenticity is what speaks to him louder than any words could. There will come a moment when he realizes she's more than someone he likes. She's someone he can't imagine life without. She didn't demand his love. She earned it through her character, her patience, her kindness, and her ability to understand him in ways no one else did. And when that moment comes, it's not just love. It's devotion, it's loyalty, it's a bond that doesn't break with time, distance, or struggle. Because when a man's soul is touched, he doesn't forget it. He holds on to it, protects it, and values it like nothing else in his life. When a woman touches a man's soul, something shifts in him that even he doesn't fully understand. It's not about charm or beauty, although those may catch his attention. It's deeper, almost spiritual. It's about how she makes him feel, how she sees parts of him no one else takes the time to notice, how she brings a peace into his life that he didn't even realize he was craving. A man may not always have the words for it, but he knows when it happens. He starts to act differently, think differently, love differently. That's the power of soul, deep connection. It transforms him from within. Most men walk through life with invisible armor. They're told to be strong, to never cry, to hide weakness and fear. So they build walls, they protect their emotions, they guard their hearts, because at some point life taught them that opening up leads to disappointment. But then she enters his world, not loud, not demanding, but soft, steady, real. She doesn't try to break down his walls. She simply sits beside them with understanding and patience. She doesn't force him to share. She creates an atmosphere where he wants to. And little by little, he starts removing that armor himself, not because he has to, but because he wants to feel safe in her presence. There's something profoundly healing about being with someone who doesn't just love the parts of you that are easy to love. A man falls deeply in love when a woman loves his complexity, when she accepts the version of him that's still a work in progress. She sees the pain he hides behind his smile, the pressure behind his ambition, the doubts behind his confidence. And instead of pulling away from that, she leans in with compassion. That doesn't make her weak, that makes her unforgettable. Because in a world that tells men to mask their emotions, she becomes the one person who allows him to feel fully human. He notices the little things, how she pays attention to what makes him laugh, how she remembers the stories he told her once and never brought up again, how she speaks life into him on days when he feels defeated. It's not grand gestures that touch a man's soul. It's consistency, it's presence, it's showing up emotionally, not just physically. It's her loyalty when things get hard, her patience when he's distant, and her softness when he doesn't have the strength to be strong. That's the kind of love that digs deep and stays there. He begins to trust her with things he doesn't trust anyone else with, not because she demanded it, but because she earned it. She didn't criticize his vulnerability or use it against him. She protected it, she valued it, and that kind of trust becomes the foundation of something solid, something rare. He starts turning to her for comfort, not escape, for clarity, not confusion, for strength, not validation. And that's when he knows this isn't just a woman he enjoys, this is a woman he respects with his entire being. A man's soul is touched when he feels like more than just a provider or protector, when he feels emotionally needed and spiritually appreciated. He wants to be the reason she smiles, yes, but he also wants to know she sees him for who he truly is, that she doesn't just want his time or attention. She wants him, all of him, his past, his growth, his fears, his flaws. The woman who shows him that kind of love becomes irreplaceable. You see, it's not about perfection. A woman who touches a man's soul isn't flawless. She's honest. She doesn't pretend to have all the answers. She shares her own pain, her own growth, her own lessons. She meets him with humility and depth. That creates emotional intimacy, the kind that goes beyond surface conversations and into the realm of soltus, all connection. And when that happens, he doesn't just fall in love, he dives into love, head first, heart open, mind focused, he's all in. There's a moment every man reaches when he realizes he's not afraid anymore, not afraid of losing control, not afraid of being seen, not afraid of needing someone. Because with her, it's not weakness, it's connection. She's shown him that loving her doesn't mean losing himself. It means finding the best version of who he's meant to be. She doesn't compete with his mission in life. She supports it. She doesn't belittle his mistakes. She encourages growth. That kind of woman becomes his anchor, and through it all, she never begs for his attention. She doesn't chase. She doesn't manipulate. Her love speaks for itself. It's in her loyalty, her softness, her consistency, and her calm strength. She doesn't just want a relationship. She wants a partnership, one where both people are growing, building, healing, and loving together. That mindset, that kind of heart, that kind of love, it touches him in a place that nothing else ever could. He might not say it often, but he feels it every day. In the way he holds her hand, in the way he looks at her when she's not watching, in the way he protects her even when she's strong enough to protect herself. It's in the quiet acts, the small gestures that speak louder than any words. Because when a man's soul is touched, he starts showing love in ways even he never expected. He remembers how she made him feel before she ever said, "I love you." He remembers how safe he felt in her silence, how inspired he felt by her faith in him, how healed he felt by her presence. And in return, he starts loving her with a depth that lasts, not just through the good days, but through the trials, the storms, the changes. Because soul, deep love doesn't fade, it grows, it strengthens. It becomes the kind of love that stays long after the honeymoon stage ends. That's what it means to touch a man's soul. It's not about impressing him, it's about understanding him, not about winning his attention, but honoring his heart. And once a man experiences that kind of love, there's no going back, because now he knows what it means to be truly loved, and he'll spend the rest of his life protecting and cherishing the woman who showed him what that feels like. When a woman touches a man's soul, it doesn't happen loudly. It doesn't happen because she's trying hard or because she says all the right things. It happens quietly, naturally, through moments that seem small but feel massive to him. It could be the way she listens without interrupting when he's talking about something that matters to him, the way she looks at him when he's not trying to impress her, the way she makes him feel like he's enough just as he is. That's what starts it. That's what makes him stop, look again, and realize she's unlike anyone he's ever met. Men aren't always vocal about their emotions. Most of them grow up being taught to suppress their feelings, to stay strong, to never show weakness. So by the time they're adults, they've learned how to wear a mask. They've mastered how to pretend, but inside there's still a longing for something real, something safe. Someone who won't judge them when they're not at their best. Someone who won't walk away when things aren't perfect. When a man finds that in a woman, it gets to him, and not in a shallow way, but deep where words can't fully explain. He touches his soul when she shows him that he didn't have to do anything extravagant to be valued. He didn't have to have the biggest bank account or the flashiest lifestyle to be worthy of love. When she appreciates him for his effort, for his character, for how he treats people, it strikes something inside of him that's been starved for recognition. The world might praise his wins, but she's the one who acknowledges his heart. That kind of woman is rare, and when he realizes what she sees in him, he starts seeing it in himself too. She doesn't love him because he's perfect. She loves him while he's still figuring things out. She supports him when he's unsure. She stays grounded even when he's uncertain. She becomes his calm in chaos, his clarity when he's overwhelmed, and that consistency when everything else feels unstable that touches his soul. Because love isn't just about passion and chemistry. It's about showing up when it's hard. It's about choosing each other even when life is pulling in opposite directions. And when she chooses him that way with all his flaws, all his fears, and all his history, he doesn't take it lightly. He holds it sacred. It's not the loud love that stays with a man forever. It's the quiet, consistent, gentle kind that sinks into his soul and transforms him. It's the woman who understands his moods without taking them personally, who senses when he's tired and doesn't demand more from him, who lets him be human, who doesn't make him feel guilty for needing space. She gives him room to breathe, and because of that, he breathes better when she's around. That kind of connection is irreplaceable. Sometimes it's the late-night conversations where he finally opens up about something he's held in for years. Sometimes it's how she reacts when he admits something vulnerable. She doesn't use it against him, she holds it gently, like something precious. That moment stays in his memory because it showed him she's not just someone to have fun with, she's someone to build with. Someone he can trust with the sides of him he hides from the world. Her presence doesn't drain him, it restores him. She doesn't come into his life trying to change him. She comes in believing in who he is and encouraging who he could be. That kind of love doesn't just feel good, it gives life. She doesn't compete with his goals, she fuels them. She doesn't get intimidated by his ambitions, she adds value to it. He begins to feel like he can do more, be more, because of the way she stands by him. Not behind him, not above him, beside him, as his equal, as his partner, as his. As he that was so, that wasn't. What moves him isn't how perfect she looks when she dresses up. It's how soft she is when she lets him into her world. It's the way she admits her own fears. It's the courage in her honesty. It's the way she speaks with love, even when she's upset. He sees her strength and her kindness, her beauty and her compassion. She becomes not just someone he wants in his life, but someone he needs, not out of dependency, but out of genuine connection. He doesn't have to perform around her. He doesn't have to keep his guard up. He can rest. That's what makes him fall, not because he's weak, but because she reminds him that he doesn't have to carry everything alone. She doesn't try to lead with manipulation or pressure. She leads with love, and love has its own power. A power that doesn't shout but stays, a power that doesn't demand but inspires. He starts to build around her. He starts to plan with her in mind, not just because he wants her around today, but because he can't imagine a tomorrow without her. And it's not because she made him feel obsessed or addicted. It's because she gave him something real, something he couldn't find anywhere else. She reached a part of him that no one else could reach, and that part now beats differently because of her. She didn't chase him. She didn't try to prove her worth. She just showed up with authenticity, with heart, with faith in who they could become, and that's what touched him. Not her words, but her presence. Not her looks, but her loyalty. Not her promises, but her energy. That's when a man knows. That's when he decides, not because he has to, but because he wants to. Because he's seen a love that speaks to his soul. Once a man feels that, he'll never settle for anything less again.